Welcome back to another episode of the Next Level Minds podcast. My name is Chris Chapman, and I am your host. If this is the first time that you're tuning in, this is a podcast dedicated to those who want to reach a next level in their faith, family, fitness, finances, and embrace the American freedoms that we have in this great country. And the way in which we do that is by interviewing various successful people from all walks of life and really walking through their story of how they have achieved the success that they do have in their life. We also host solo episodes where I'll walk through various topics, personal development related, faith related, America focused related, things of that nature. And today is a solo episode, really part of a series I do called Motivation Monday, where I usually release these towards the end of the month just to motivate people to finish the rest of the month on a strong level. But before we dive into this episode, I do want to reiterate my main goal, and it's really to impact over 1 million people. So if you have not done this already, please take the time to subscribe to Next Level Minds on Apple Podcast. And then if you've not done this already, go ahead and share this episode with a family member, friend, or colleague if you got some value out of it. And if you're really feeling like being nice, leave a review of Next Level Minds on Apple Podcast. Let me know what you think. The more 5-star reviews I get, the higher this podcast ranks. So that would be greatly appreciated. Now on to today's episode, which is really an annual goal exercise that I do around the Q4, so around the October, November timeframe. And it's really a self-awareness exercise that I implement into my life for all of my annual goals. If you have not set annual goals before, then go back and listen to a few episodes about that. I believe there's an episode titled 2024 Recap or something of that nature where I kind of talk through my goal setting framework. But for those who have annual goals, here is a fantastic exercise that you can do to really continue to keep yourself on track, or if you feel like that you've fallen off track a bit, this exercise can help you get back on track where you need to go. And really the framework is as follows. So I look at all my goals, which I of course do every day, but when I do it on a daily basis, I'm just kind of scanning my goals, versus this exercise is about an hour's worth of your time, maybe 30 minutes if you can be efficient. And the first thing I do is ask, what do I need to keep doing? So I'm looking at my goals and I'm like, okay, what are the habits, the routines, the behaviors, the actions that are actually driving me closer to these goals, right? Let's say it's a fitness goal to gain or lose 5 pounds. And that would be, the habits would be, waking up early, going to the gym, drinking a gallon of water, walking 10,000 steps a day, eating healthy, right? Those are the habits and routines and behaviors that get you to that level. If your goal is to make, a few $100,000 this year, then what are the habits, routines, behaviors, and actions that you need to keep doing? So you're looking back at some of your past wins that you've had this year, and you're just digesting those in a little bit more detail, and you're asking, okay, when I achieved X, Y, and Z, A, B, C happened. When I put this input in, this output came out. So what do I need to do? What do I need to keep doing to keep having some of these wins? And I do that for every single one of my goals. And trust me, it's a very great self-awareness exercise, because sometimes you look at it and you're like, okay, I just need to kind of keep doing all these things that I'm doing. Boom, 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 let's go. But sometimes you're like, okay, I'm not in alignment with my actions, my habits, routines, behaviors. My habits do not align with my goals, which that's one of the biggest things that hold people back. Second thing I do is ask, what do I need to stop doing? So let's say one of your goals is to wake up earlier this year. Well, one of the things that you could stop doing, this is just an example, is I need to stop going to bed past 10 p.m. Or let's say one of your goals is to save 50 grand this year. And it's like, okay, I'm kind of far from that goal. All right, well, I need to stop going out to eat X amount of times per week. I need to stop doing impulse purchases. I need to stop, insert bad habit, bad routine, bad behavior, bad action here. So do that for all my goals as well. The third thing I do is ask myself, who can I reach out to? Who can I learn from, whether it's a book or a podcast? Who can get me closer to my goals? So there's a great book that's been recommended to me many times. The reason I have not read it is because I've received the summary so many different times from various people. But the book is, I believe it's called Who Not How. And it's essentially discussing who you surround yourself with is equally, if not more important than the actual habits that you're doing is kind of the premise of the book. And so who can I reach out to, right? This is going through your contact list, your LinkedIn, your emails. This is asking yourself, who in my network can help me get closer to, again, these are examples, saving $50,000. Who in my network can get me closer to losing 5 pounds of fat and gaining 10 pounds of muscle? Who in my circle can help me start XYZ business, right? You're just asking yourself who. And then you're also going to say, okay, we live in a digital era where not only can I access any podcast that I want, any YouTube video that I want, any course that I want, but I can also utilize AI, who's going to pull data from various sources and give me the exact answer that I'm looking for. So who can I learn from a book perspective? I'm looking to my left right now as I'm recording, and I have a significant amount of business and personal development books that I can crack open. In fact, I'm reading one right now about discipline, right? Who can I learn from a book? Podcast. Let's say you want to start a business. Okay, type in on Google, top 10 business podcasts for aspiring entrepreneurs. Go through those podcasts, listen to every episode, learn from it. And then who can get me closer to my goals? These are people who are maybe 3, 4, 5 years ahead of you, who have been in your shoes before and know what it's like to be in your position. You can ask, who can get me closer to this goal? Sometimes God puts people in your life when you're not even thinking about it. For example, and I have no idea how this is actually gonna follow through, but I was on a walk today for my second workout for 75 Hard, and I'm walking and I see someone that I haven't talked to in forever, start talking about 75 Hard. And I'm like, hey, yeah, one of the things that we're trying to do is build out a home gym, but here, it's a lot of money, and I have everything in my cart. I'm just reluctant to pull the trigger because if you guys have been listening to this podcast for a while, you know that I like living very, very below my means. And that's one of the reasons why I've been able to achieve what I've been able to achieve financially, because I'm living below my means, right? And I'm like, okay, I don't want to pull the trigger, but here's the cart. And he's like, hey, I actually work for this sports company, and I could potentially get you 40 to 60% off home gym equipment. And I'm just thinking in my head, first off, thank you, God, for putting this person in my life at this time, at this moment. That was all God there. Second, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like that is amazing. And so who knows where it'll land, because I literally just ran into him right before I recorded this. But one of my goals this year is to build out a home gym in the house. And I potentially just met somebody who could save me literally 60% on a very expensive purchase. So super cool stuff there. Who can get you closer to your goals? And the third one is, how can I get to this goal by the end of the year? And that's just some reverse engineering where you're essentially looking at your annual goals. You're kind of saying, okay, I have, X amount of days left. I believe there's rough math here. There's probably like 70, I don't know. There's probably like 75, 80 days left this year. I don't know. October 16th is when I'm recording. So now there's obviously even less, but who can get me closer to these goals that I have? And then you're saying, okay, how can I get to this? And you're reverse engineering. You're looking at your calendar. Okay, I want to achieve X, Y, Z. Okay, I need to put some calendar invites here. I need to make sure I'm doing this here. Boom, 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 boom. You're just honestly reverse engineering your goal with how many days you have left. So for example, I'll use the home gym, right? That's a big goal of mine. We have it half built out, but there's a couple things I want to do. I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, I have X amount of days left to build out the home gym. Well, I have a newborn on the way that's coming in November. I have a crazy December after that, because that's like the last month of the year and going to be the first kind of full month here with the newborn. So I'm like, okay, I need to get this done like ASAP. I don't have, 3 months. I have like 2 weeks to get this done, right? And that's very important to do with your goals, because sometimes you realize you actually don't have as much time as you think. And you're asking yourself, how can I get to this goal by the end of the year? And then you're reverse engineering. Lastly, and this is one of my favorites, you're asking, why do I want to accomplish this goal? Why do you want to make this money? Why do you want to start this business? Why do you want to get closer to God? Why do you want to invest X amount in your 401k or Roth IRA or individual brokerage account? Why do you want to lose 5 pounds? Why do you want to gain 10 pounds? Like, whatever your goals are, why do you want to achieve them? One of the reasons why, just talking out loud here, that I want to achieve, my financial goals this year is because I know that it's going to compound on each other, right? If I'm able to make the money that I want and live below my means how I want, I'm going to be able to invest what I want. And then by the time I'm 45, 50 years old, I'm going to have like the exact life that I want financially. But it all goes down to the decisions that I'm making this year, this month, this week, today. Just like everything else. Why do I want to be physically fit? Well, multiple reasons. One, I believe that it's very important to set the example, set the standard as to how you think people should live their life. And you can't do that if you're unfortunately overweight. I also just, again, talking out loud, you feel better. When you look better, you feel better. You perform better mentally, perform better physically on just small tasks like walking up the stairs. You have more energy, more focus, more clarity. The chances of you getting disease is significantly lower. There's hundreds of health reasons, right? So I'm writing down why. Why do I want to get closer to God? Well, I think God is created a universe. I think Jesus died for our sins, rose again 3 days later. My life has been significantly better as I've continued to get closer and closer to Jesus, especially now that I have a young family that I'm, responsible for, as God calls us to lead our household as men and, set the example. We're responsible for the spiritual health of our family. Like, this is biblical direction in Ephesians. I believe now it's important more than ever to be spiritually filled up by God, by a strong relationship with Jesus. So I'm writing down, why do I want these particular things? And your why, I've said this many times before, I've said this in speeches before, your what will drive you on the days that you're motivated, right? I'm looking at my vision board. I'm like, ooh, I can't wait to have this house on the water. If I just keep grinding, this will happen. I can't wait to build a fly private. If I just keep grinding, this will happen. And I'm jazzed up and I'm motivated. But what about the days that you're not motivated? Sometimes this stuff doesn't get me excited, right? Especially on the days where I'm just not feeling it. But then I look at my deeper why, my deeper purpose, my deeper mission, and that's what drives me. So as you're thinking about closing out the year, do not be lazy with this. Do not just say, oh, next year things will get better. Oh, we're going to wash up this year. No, now is separation season, right? Especially with the holidays. In like a month and a half from now, you got Thanksgiving where people are going to start eating like crap, drinking too much. You got Christmas coming up where people are just going to have excuses on top of excuses on top of excuses. And then you're just going to hear so many, maybe next year. No, there's still a lot of time left in 2025. But if you want to maximize that time, got to go through this goal exercise of, what do I need to keep doing? What do I need to stop doing? Who can I reach out to and learn from? And how can I get to this goal by the end of the year? And why am I trying to accomplish this goal? That's all we got for today. Thank you, as always, for tuning into the Next Level Minds podcast. As always, be sure to share this episode with a family member, friend, or colleague. And I hope y'all have a fantastic week ahead.